Lee, 2024. I've seen this film twice now. I saw it again today with a friend. I got so much more from having seen it all over again. Kate Winslet is brilliant. There's two elements of the film, two timelines in the narrative. One is from the 1930s to 40s, 1938 up until 1945. The second timeline is from 1977, and it's on a farm where she is being interviewed by someone, this younger man. She's very reticent, she's reluctant, she doesn't want to be interviewed, I guess. That is very strongly telling. If you watch this film, you can realise the whole reasoning behind this way of revealing the whole story right at the end. So, won't explain too much about that, but what happens is at the start of the timeline, the first timeline in 1938, Lee, played by Kate Winslet, is in the south of France, an idyllic seaside bay. It's right by the water's edge of the French Riviera. It looks gorgeous, and she's staying with friends, quite a few women and a couple of guys. One man comes along whom she seems unsure of to start with. For one thing, several of the women are topless at this situation and they're feeling comfortable being like that. But Lee covers up as soon as this man appears. Not much later on, she's actually drawn to him and they develop some sort of relationship. It's a complicated relationship. Well, there's so many complications. The film covers such a lot of ground. The story being pieced together in the 70s, as we find out through the man who's interviewing her later on. But we go through the earlier scenes in the late 30s. There's all this surprise and horror at how Nazi Germany is, all the followers of Hitler, and it feels such a terrifying parallel to whenever there's a rise in right-wing rhetoric, political rhetoric, whenever someone wins in recent democratic elections. It's happened numerous times now, and so it's extra chilling looking back on it because it's there, it happens, as the people then seem to think somehow everyone's brainwashed, but that capacity to be brainwashed is ever present in, and that ability to hate marginalized groups is horrific. We see that throughout this film, but in a great deal of detail. Towards the third act, I would say, we have this early bit where there's peace and Lee is being with her friends and she's been a fashion photographer, but soon afterwards she moves to London and the war happens. There's like buildings on fire, the Blitz arrives, and there's a campaign to encourage women to get involved in the war effort, and she helps with that. She's really creative, as it's explained when she takes photographs of women in gas masks posing, and there's so many ways that she is instrumental in doing so much in the war effort because she becomes a war journalist and she pushes against all of strong British resistance to women going out to correspond, to report back on photographing the war in mainland Europe. But on realising, for a start, she's an American citizen, she does get out there. There's some really shocking stuff. And she gets to Paris, some really intense fights. There's the French resistance. There's horrible stuff that happens. There's people dominating others. One older woman criticising a young woman who's been talking to a man who is a Nazi, and this younger woman doesn't realise. She tries her best to ameliorate the situation. Time and time again, there's napalm, and it's all piece together in her photographs. Oh gosh, there's, I think, a British soldier sexually assaulting a French woman, and Lee is just going out for the evening. She's going to look for one of her friends, and she just intercepts this situation where this woman's been badly treated, and she saves her. She helps. It's great what she says to this woman when she hands her a knife that she's been using to ward off this guy. It's like all this male violence, and she realizes how it feels like she would be such a campaigner today for women's rights, but she's doing this way back 78, 80 years ago, 1944. There's a scene with Solange, played by Marion Cotillard. That's harrowing because she's impoverished and she can't save everyone she wants to. She realizes that. She says herself early on she won't make promises that she cannot keep. When Paris is liberated and she's covering the war for Vogue magazine, she gets a call and everyone thinks she's going to be partying and will come back to London. But she's just had a conversation. But right after that, her partner from London turns up and he wants to take her back to London. But she's just had a conversation with some of her friends in Paris who talk about people disappearing, and she wants to uncover that story. Oh, the emotion. There were times when my eyes were just streaming. I could almost not stop crying because I was so caught up in the emotions. Kate Winslet's brilliant as an actor, I think. She goes with another journalist, with this other journalist. They drive out to the German border, and it's 1945 now. They drive for months, from what the narrative voiceover explains, a long time, but they find trains, and there are quite a few images of the Holocaust. And I've seen imagery before from a few other films. I've been to the Imperial War Museum. I haven't been to Auschwitz, any of the museums in Europe. It is often, thankfully, a little bit muted. There are details and they are stark. All those scenes are palpable. The horror on the journalists' faces. They're first on the scene with a lot of it. I mean, apart from the soldiers who are there, coming to train carriages, coming to warehouses in Dachau, following people who, like this woman who's got some bread, finding people who are destitute, who've survived the war, and they're just desperate and they're scared. I mean, the same fear I've seen with cats and foxes who shrink away when they see you, and they try and they feel cornered and they try and quickly get away. The scene of one young girl whom Lee photographs, she tried to reassure her that she's not a threat. So poignant, so brilliantly done. It is amazing, I think. Lee has all these experiences. This is a kind of strange one. I found it very strange on the first viewing, where she goes into the Führer's bathroom and takes a bath. He's killed himself at this point. I won't say too much about it, apart from there's this photograph that probably is considered provocative because she's in a bath at the Führer's home. What does that mean? I was wondering. But she's questioned about that in the 1977 interview, and it really made sense much more on the second viewing. I was more able to pay attention, and there's so much information, understanding it, explaining it. I think it hit me so much harder second time. There was a chance to really look carefully at Kate Winslet plainly and see how deeply she was into the character. We see Lee when she's emotionally raw, but at times she can be so reserved, like when she's being interviewed. She doesn't want to give information freely, and that comes across strongly as well. I loved it. I thought I'd say it is the best film I've seen this year, considering everything that's happening in the world, all the news we get from horrifying situations in various parts of the world, the potential, the risks. It's frightening where we are now in 2024, but we've been in situations that are similar, such as in 1945, 79 years ago, 85 years ago, in 1939. That trajectory, as everything was uncovered on the timeline, and Lee lives through it, and she's so dedicated to her journalism. I felt there were some strong parallels with Civil War I saw back in April, and that's also a testament to journalism. I'm going to score this 9.5 out of 10. Absolutely stunning. It's not a film I'd like to see over and over again because there are distressing images, but it's such an important film, and I so commend the actors, the story, the book it was based on, the narrative, the script. It's a brilliant film. Really, really worth a watch. Love to know your thoughts. If you like this review, please like. Thanks for subscribing. Please ring the bell. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.